Okay, so welcome to book 34, week 34. I've been having some serious sound issues here, so I don't know what's going on. I wish that the sound options here were a little more opaque, a little less opaque, a little more open, so I knew what in the world was going on. Um, but anyway, I managed to fix it, so that's what matters at the moment. Gonna look into how I fixed it and what I need to do to keep it fixed, but it's fixed. So this week is Possession by Annie Ernaux. Now, this is, she won the Nobel Prize in 2022, as this says right here. She's a French writer, and a lot of her books are very short. Um, and you would think, okay, so that's a quick read. I mean, look, there's not even that many words on the page. It's even, you know, and it's true. It's a pretty quick read. So what's going on here? Well, um, she's known for a sort of brutal uh, honesty, a sort of real flatness of some of her language and real stripped down approach. Okay. So what this book's about is it reads as straight autobiography. And, I don't know enough about her life to know, but it's about a woman who is basically obsessing over a previous lover. And it takes place over the course of about about 6 or 7, 8 months, something like that. Let's see. It says the end here, May, June, and September, October 2001. So May to October, maybe. What is that? About half a year, a little more than 6 months, something like that. Let's see, May, June, July, August, September, October, about 6 months. Okay, and it details the ways in which she sort of cyberstalks this lover's new woman and this sort of thing, how she's obsessed with this, finding out about this new woman, because this new woman is older than her. So it's not the typical giving up of one lover for a younger one that so many men do. This is something different. And she's just obsessed with it. And it makes for a very interesting read. Honestly, I would say that this is it does say some very interesting things about jealousy and how jealousy works, and the very idea of the possession, about how she wants to possess this former lover, um, and this kind of thing is very interesting. But in a way, you know, it's a very short treatment, and maybe it doesn't deserve any further treatment than this. Maybe she said here all that needs to be said, or all that she has to say about it. But it does seem like she could have said more. She could have gone on a little longer. There could have been a little more details in here. But maybe there doesn't need to be. Maybe there's a point here in the brevity. And just like, the book I looked at last week, which seems like forever ago, Do What They Say or Else, there's a sense in which each of her books is just addressing this one thing. So there's almost a obsessive quality to the way she's going to focus in on uh, jealousy here. And I think that's the point, and that's what she's doing. Not to overburden it, I think that's essentially where she is and what she's doing here. Um, this was the first Annie Ernaux I actually read. I bought the three Annie Ernaux that I have all at the same time. And, I thought, oh, hey, these are short. These will be easy to read. And I read this one, I don't know, a matter of 2 hours, maybe an hour even. I don't even know. Quick. And honestly, I wasn't impressed. I thought, hmm, this must be one of those she also wrote kind of books, you know what I mean? Not the one that you want to read, but the she also wrote. And I don't really remember at the time, but I didn't bother to read the other two. I just held on to them and didn't read them and didn't read them and didn't read them and didn't read them. And then doing this project, I decided to go back and visit her because one of the things I'm trying to do is bring attention to some Nobel Prize winning authors and that sort of thing. Because in my daily life out there walking around, nobody's ever heard of somebody like this. Now I'm sure in the right literary circles, she's well known. I'm sure there are papers written on her. I'm sure some of her texts have wound up in classrooms. I'm sure that that's the kind of thing that happens to an author like this, is they become part of the academic machine. But what can we say about this for the average individual? Well, everybody goes through jealousy. Everybody has these kinds of feelings. You know, you are certainly not alone if you've got some issues with an ex, and if you have some, you know, obsessive interest in their new girlfriend or whatever, their new relationships, their new life, etc. Okay, I think that's one angle that we can take here. Another is by looking at some of the precise ways in which this jealousy takes place. It's kind of like that song by Alanis Morissette, "You Want to Know." That taps into some of that, very direct sort of Mm, is it feminine? I don't know. Female in a heterosexual relationship kind of approach. I'm not really 100% sure, but I have a feeling that there is something unique about the position of a woman in a heterosexual relationship and this jealousy of another woman because of patriarchy. I don't necessarily think that it is a genetic predisposition to a certain approach to this, but I do think within patriarchy, it does lend itself to a certain kind of, you know, did I not please him enough? Is that why he left me? Does this other woman please him in ways that I can't? Is that why he left me? And, was I not attractive enough? So I think there's a way in which um, patriarchy lends itself to a woman specifically seeing herself as the lack in the relationship. And that's why the man has gone on to another relationship because she is something of a lack, because she is something of a possession, something of a possession within the relationship. And he's trading, in his mind, up from one possession to another. Okay, so I'm not going to say that that can't happen to men in a relationship. I'm not going to say that a gay or lesbian relationship is immune to this kind of thing. But I would argue that something like this is making a case that this is how, for a woman, these things play out. And, there is definitely a focus on the body. Part of what she definitely misses is specifically his body, particularly his sexual body. And that's kind of also kind of interesting because, historically women aren't supposed to, you know, talk about their sexual desire. But part of what she wants back is the sex. She has desire. And it's not necessarily even desire for the sex, it's desire for him, for his body. And I know that might sound kind of um, odd, but that's what Arno is doing here. Is she's picking apart and dissecting differences like that and connections like that. So I think that's what's going on here. Good book, yeah. A second read within the context of which I've been reading all these kinds of books in which I've read other Arnaud, um, I definitely see this as being a better book than I did at first. It's very focused on mundane, real details, and that's kind of refreshing. It's not an abstract text. It's a very straightforward, very flat, realistic kind of boom, boom, boom. You know, um, if we look at it, uh, you know, I've always wanted to write as if I would be gone when the book was published, to write as if I were about to die. No more judges. Even its illusion, perhaps to believe that truth comes only by way of death. I've always wanted to write as if I would be gone when the book was published, to write as if I were about to die. No more judges. Even its illusion, perhaps to believe that truth comes only by way of death. So what she's saying there is that's what she's doing here is this brutal honesty. She's not a good person, or the speaker is not a good person in this book. They are an obsessive, almost stalkery, potentially even dangerous ex. They are ugly, they're nasty, they are not in a good mental space. And I think that is exactly what she's trying to do here is, write as if she were gone. No judgment on just the brutal honesty of what it was like going through this experience. How autobiographical is this? Couldn't tell you, but that's kind of pointless to even speculate because it's written as a autobiographical account. And that's what, you know. Okay, so short, easy read. I would definitely recommend it, but maybe not as a first or only Ernaux. I think that if you're going to read Annie Ernaux, you should probably do what I've done here and read a few. They're short enough, they shouldn't take you long. Um, but I think that just one on its own doesn't really speak as deeply as reading several of them do, because I think that she kind of builds on a certain kind of thematic, and I think that reading more than one really helps.